We're back. We're back on the E
Yeah.
word. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Every day is a little
Yeah.
bit of drama in this new world we live in, but
Yes.
hanging in there.
Yes. We look
How
for the
about you?
wins. We look for the joy where we can find them, right?
Exactly. You know who doesn't have a care in the world, though?
Hmm.
Mina on your lap.
That's true. It's true. I momentarily bribed her with a dental stick, so
Oh, okay. So she's okay.
she's
She's busy.
happily chewing, but we may be interrupted. Hopefully, we won't be. But I make no promises.
Well, in this new world order, right? We had some news about Target, right?
We did. Did I
Well,
tell you this is my favorite place to go?
is it your favorite place to go? Oh,
I have such fond memories of just strolling the aisles aimlessly through Target with friends, family, my dog. Target is one of the most consistently excellent shopping experiences I have had. So this news you're about to share makes me feel a little anxious. What's going
oh
on?
my goodness. Well, so the headlines
Okay.
have said that Target's pulling back on their DEI efforts.
Hmm.
Um, now, you got to dig into that a little bit,
Right.
because we like to go beyond the headlines, right?
Exactly. I think that's just going to be our theme this whole year, beyond the headlines.
Beyond the headlines, beyond the headlines. And so, a couple of highlights. They had this target belonging at the bullseye strategy, which,
Okay.
by the way, that feels like a weird name, but right. But
Yeah, because I don't want to be on the receiving end of a bullseye, but
oh,
sure.
I don't know if they. Hopefully, they didn't end up getting involved in that. But yeah, I don't know. But essentially, there's a couple of different things that they have going on that they posted on their website, right? So um, they are going to conclude their 3-year diversity, equity, and inclusion goals.
Okay.
They're concluding their racial equity action and change initiatives. It was called REACH. And that
Okay.
was as planned. They had planned to, conclude them in 2025.
Okay.
They're ensuring their employee resource groups are communities that are fully focused on development and mentorship, and the communities will be open to all.
Okay.
They're further evaluating their corporate partnerships to ensure they are directly connected to their roadmap for growth. They're
Sensible.
stopping all external diversity surveys, including the HRC's Corporate Equality Index, very similar to many other organizations. And
Yes.
finally,
Unfortunate for HRC, but like you
yeah,
said, we heard it.
and finally, they're evolving their supplier diversity team to the supplier engagement team to better reflect our inclusive global procurement process across a broad range of suppliers, including their focus on small businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that a significant portion of minority owned businesses are small businesses.
Very good point. So that's a bonus.
Yeah.
Right?
And um, if I can put my strategy hat on for a moment,
Please do.
is there a world where Target looked at the upcoming presidential election, or they had their analysts do so, right? Whoever's
Mhm.
underneath the hood, and said, okay, well, if we have this, I believe you said it was a 3-year roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this 3-year roadmap. And if a, a, a presidential administration comes in that is supportive and receptive of these types of initiatives, then that's good PR for us because we can say we've achieved such success that we're continuing this, right? We're renewing our 3-year commitment
Mhm.
to another 3 years. Or if a presidential administration comes in that is not receptive and in fact is very anti DEI, then we can fall in line and say, well, we're ending it, we're sunsetting it because we only agreed for 3 years anyway. Am I being too conspiratorial or what do we think there?
I mean, those are definite possibilities, right? I think there's another possibility which, you know, could have nothing to do with the political climate, right? We have to give that a little bit of grace, right?
Of course.
And they're looking at their roadmap for growth, which actually they say, right, to some degree, and they're evaluating whether those programs are effective in laddering up to their overall business goals, right? So there's a world where it could be divorced from the political climate,
Okay. That's fair.
but in the political climate, that we're in, it's hard to see that. And any change or evolution is going to be linked to, uh, this barrage of news that says that any change in DEI strategy is pulling back from a DEI strategy. And it could absolutely be that. I'm not saying that it's not, right? It could also
Right.
be something else. So that's why we have to kind of talk about it and unpack it. I think it's also interesting, though, leaning into the political conspiratorial theories, right? That there's an announcement about it, right? Because they could very well make some shifts without it being news.
Right. The only reason I bring that up is because a few years ago, Target received a lot of pressure from conservative groups for their Pride Month merchandise.
Yeah.
And there was seemingly some backlash about the merchandise. I recall seeing people recording themselves, knocking down the merchandise or, any of the mannequins that were showing it. So that to me, and given their rapid response of taking all of the stuff down, that to me suggests that there's at least one eye on the political climate and the groups that may be inspired to act as a
I
result of whatever Target's policies are.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, they have to be responsive to the communities that they serve, right?
Yes.
And there are so many different forces at play other than the communities, economic forces and all of that. And they have to look at what kind of risk that climate provides for them. So I think it's a very delicate balance for any major corporation to embark on in this very volatile climate, right? So if we look back at, say, I don't know when Target actually really, really started, but everybody seemed to start in 2020, right? 2021.
Sure.
If we look back at that, a lot of what we saw was in response to the communities and the outrage and the call for change.
Right.
And now, some years later, we see a different kind of response and we see companies responding to that. So it's kind of no different than those times.
Right.
It just feels like even the programs that they had in place prior to it falling under or labeled DEI are now under attack as well,
Right.
such as the supplier diversity programs that have been in place for decades in many organizations and is now being weaponized in a way that's basically saying, supplier diversity and DEI, for example, are the same thing. And then we see these weird stories crop up around, not playing the Tuskegee Airmen video, right? So basically, this censoring of Black history as if Black history is a DEI
Right.
component rather than it being American history. So
Yeah,
there's
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I come from my father has served, both of my grandfathers have served, and so I take great pride in my family's role in ensuring American freedom. And it seems like such a missed opportunity to uplift the collective investment in protecting those freedoms simply because of personal animus or
Yeah.
any sort of insecurity.
Yeah.
We can't take it back. It's done, right? These people served. Many of them gave their lives for this country in hope of a better, more freer, more perfect union. So I saw that it was put back, but again, the question is, to what end? We erase this, this history. To what end? Even today, and I'm curious to know what your response is. I was thinking a lot about kind of reskilling and workforce planning and what that's going to look like going forward, especially if these particular organizations like a Target or McDonald's or anyone else, assuming that they have a CDO or a chief diversity officer, are the CDOs around the country feeling nervous? Is their job in jeopardy?
I think their jobs are in jeopardy for sure.
Yeah. And knowing that over 70% of CDOs across the United States are white.
Right. Right.
Does that change the perception?
The irony of it. Yeah.
Right. The argument, as I understand it, is having a CDO or having these diversity initiatives are somehow fueling a lack of fairness and opportunity. So then my question becomes, what happens when the people who are drafting these initiatives and encouraging these initiatives are white? Because the underlying assumption is that this is unfair to white people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that history has shown us that the powerful few will sacrifice their own in order to further their own agenda. So the fact that white people may also be affected by some of these changes, in their view, is a necessary byproduct or just collateral damage for a greater good in their view. And that's always how it's been. And so, unfortunately, for the general population, this is a wake up call to realize that, when you remove things like DEI, it also affects veterans, people, differently abled people, right? Women in general. It's not just the Black and brown folks, which that was the marketing that other group put out there.
Yeah.
But the reality is, here's the hard truth. There's never been a program, created exclusively for the Black and brown people. We always are a byproduct of a greater good, to be honest.
Can you say that again? I think that's
There has never been a program specifically created to benefit Black and brown people, particularly Black people. It's just been made to seem that way. The biggest okie doke has been welfare, right? It has been marketed and there's this whole history stuff about this, but marketed to make it seem as if Black people were the only people benefiting from it, when in fact, we are far from it. They are not creating a welfare program to take care of Black people. That's not happening. And so I think that's the biggest wake up call, is that other people are affected that didn't think they would be part of the sweep, essentially.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so people will be affected, even in these like individual pockets of different companies. How they will be affected, we don't necessarily know. There's a big assumption that these practices were illegal and unethical and that were not merit-based, when in fact it was just compelling people to be aware of their biases that were holding certain groups back and intentionally make systemic shifts that created more fairness. It was about fairness and equity, but it has been twisted into something else. And so this is what we see happening day in and day out. And Target is the latest company, right, that is shifting their viewpoints on this. Do I think they're taking it all away? No. Do I think they have to appease the administration? Yes. Do I think there's smart people working there that's going to figure it out? Yes. And do I think that some things are going to suffer because of these changes? Probably so. Particularly Black-owned businesses that were hopefully getting more of an opportunity through the focus on DEI.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. This is, quite honestly, almost a boon. You know me, I'm a political optimist.
Yes.
I am going to find the opportunity in adversity. So for those who are listening or watching, it's just like, okay, here she comes again.
We need optimism.
We need optimism. And this is an opportunity for you. If you are CPG, if you provide consumer products and goods, your website needs to be functional. You need to be up and running. You know, if I were someone like the lip bar, for example, that is placed in Target, and if I understand that a huge part of my target demographic is planning to boycott Target, head to thelipbar.com. Enter code boycott for free shipping.
Right,
Enter
exactly.
code boycott for 15% off. Right. I think there's work to do for entrepreneurs who seek exposure to greater markets. If you now know that you can't easily rely on a big box retailer, you have to get really, really crafty and really strategic about how you uplift your goods and how you get in front of the people that are going to spend the money.
Unfortunately for these small businesses, it's more work, right? It's
and that is the trade-off.
That's the huge trade-off. Their profits are going to suffer, but you need to survive. And one thing that small businesses, but I'm just going to talk about Black people right now. We know about survival. We are resilient human beings and we're creative human beings, and we need to figure it out, but we also need to support our own. And that's something that I don't think we're as good at. You know, I mean,
right.
Can we talk about the boycotting for a second?
Yes.
And just talk about the pros and cons of both sides of that. I mean, we've heard from some Black-owned retailers that they don't want us to boycott Target because their sales will suffer. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, our economic power is one of the very most powerful tools that we have. So the question is, do we boycott Target, or do we boycott certain brands that are not Black owned? Let's talk about the Black community specifically for a second, right?
Sure, sure.
Do we just go to Target and buy their products? Is that enough? And I have a bigger question or thought process around boycotting.
Mm,
I think we talked about this a little bit last week. Like, we're not very organized right now around a movement in particular. These boycotts, maybe we'll do them and they'll last for some period of time, but then most people are eventually going to go back to shopping in the way that's most convenient. If you think about the Montgomery, bus boycott, that was a very intricate,
organized.
organized movement
Right.
that thought about the implications of people not taking the bus, even down to providing people with rides. I mean, it was very well thought out so that it could last for a significant period of time and have the impact, the economic impact
Right.
that it needed to have to spark change.
Right.
Whereas now we're like, oh, we don't like this, let's boycott this. Okay, when we start?
Yeah.
Right? How long does it last? Like, what do we do?
This is a really important point that you bring up, because we have more access to one another than they did 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Where they were just working with landline phones and mailers.
Mm-hmm.
We can galvanize things really, really quickly. But then the question that came up for me as you were speaking was, if Target comes to the table and says, okay, our sales took a hit, what do you want? Who's designated to respond?
Boom.
Who represents the group's best interests? Now, I nominate us. Actually, I think that we are great listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We're not only yapping here, and that we're very intentional about educating ourselves around the needs of the community. But who decides that?
Very good question. That's our
Who's going
biggest
to show
Achilles
up?
heel. Yeah.
Right. And so that is the challenge. Whereas again, you have a particular group. You have a Project 2025. You have a 1,000-page tome
Mm-hmm.
detailing, here's what we're going to do from the legislative side. Here's what we're going to do from the judicial side. Here's how we're going to engage in media. And so you have your actors in each individual space. My question is, where's the Project 2026 or the Project 2027? And how do you engage people in that? So we are, for example, by the time this comes out, the Chinese New Year will have come and gone, or the Lunar New Year.
Mm-hmm.
But tomorrow's the Lunar New Year. I'm very excited. It's always, a really nice time. But again, how does this, when I went into Target, for example, I saw tons of decorations around the incoming year of the snake and the partnership with, I forget her name, please excuse me, but she's a Vietnamese creator.
Mm-hmm.
And Target's working with her to design the red envelopes that family members will exchange and give to children, in celebration and welcoming wealth and prosperity for the new year. So if this now goes away, and again, it's for a limited period of time, of course, for the Lunar New Year, but if initiatives like this go away, so that when Diwali comes up, I can't go to Target and buy a card or buy any sort of decoration for Diwali. Well, who do you go to? Right? Is it one group that's only representing Black creators? Is it one is it one group that is focused on really all sort of global majority creators, right? And people who are expanding our awareness of what it means to be American? Who's going to do that? Who does that? Who's responsible?
This is why I think it's not going to go away, right? For particularly a company like Target. I think that if they need to focus on their customers and what their customers want, and people don't want vanilla products, right?
Yeah.
All the time. And so those moments, that moment, like what you just shared, that you can, as a person that doesn't come from that culture, experience it and experience it in the way that you want to experience it, but also for people who do come from that culture to have a place to go and get all these things and engage. Right. That's still important from a customer perspective, and
right.
It's still a global retailer, and I just don't feel like these global corporations can just strip away the foundation of DEI from their organizations. They can strip away the words, right? But what they have to do to increase sales and connect with their customers and build loyalty and all that, those things, they've recognized that those things have value over the past years. I don't think any reason to be like, yeah, we don't need to connect with any customer on that level. It's not going to make us any money. I'm sure some celebrations don't, right? Because maybe they're not authentically connecting with them, or their audience really isn't that, or whatever the case may be. It's not aligned. But I just find it very hard to believe. Now, there's a lot of things that have happened recently that I did not anticipate happening, but people at the end of the day want to make money. And this does not make them money. This does not make them money to step away from their customers.
Right.
So, but to your point about us not having leaders, people to speak for us, that is a huge gap in the opposition, essentially, that needs to be filled.
Yep.
We need to have a plan. Project 2025 was written down so people can galvanize around it. What do we look at? Nothing. We have no idea what's going on. By the way, just as a sidebar, I had an idea, this is many years ago. Of course, I didn't know how to execute it. I just wanted it to be Blackout Day. Okay, where basically all the Black people just stopped, and then I wanted it to be Blackout Week. But we stopped shopping. Okay, we just stopped. And it would be like every week, every year for 1 week, we remind people of our buying power.
Of the collective buying power, which is over $1 trillion, I believe, something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I still like that idea. The only thing is that I think people would increase their shopping the week before if they were participating.
Right, to count. But this is why I nominated us, because of ideas like this, Karen. When it comes to the marketing piece, there's no one that they need to be calling except
think about Blackout Week. We really need to think about Blackout Week.
I'm just saying.
We stop shopping, or maybe we just do all black that week. So if you want to buy food, because I understand you're going to want to buy food, okay, right, and things of that nature. That week and then we have to have, people need to know where to go, because that's the hard part.
And there are apps, right? There are databases that will show you, hey, if you would like a caterer in Atlanta, here you go. You want a designer in Tulsa? Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. There's I'm just going to shout her out because there's a new creator. She created Shop the Hood.
Yep.
And it has all the Black owned businesses. I think there's also Shop Black as well. We need to just engage with these tools. I actually just discovered today another app, going back to the small business aspect of you saying get your website and stuff right. It's called Folklore. And essentially it's a platform that enables people to start their businesses and all the different operational aspects, and even connects you to freelancers to help you, build your business. And there's all different sorts of resources and tools if you want to get started. And it's Black owned.
Okay.
So, which is very cool in my
I
view,
agree.
obviously. And yeah, we need to find more things like this and engage and help them grow.
Right. Right.
So whether you boycott Target or not, that's up to you, obviously.
Of course.
But if you do shop there, try to support the Black business owners or whatever nationality or cultural you want to support. We're not just saying Black owned, but of course we favor the Black owned, right?
Yes.
And be intentional, and those dollars are going to help set those people up for any changes that happen going forward. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if contracts are going to be canceled. We just have no idea what the implications are. So everyone just needs to get their money up. And if you're going to spend, get your money up with Black owned businesses as much as you can. I mean, sometimes the businesses aren't fully Black owned, and we totally get that. Like, you need capital in order to grow and build. But, just be mindful and do the best that you can. And in the meantime, let's find some really awesome leaders. We might have to step up, Brittany. But
Story of our lives, right? Fine, I'll do it.
Like, it's quick for the people.
Oh, goodness. It may happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in the meantime, Karen, yes, we're going to talk about Blackout Week. And I am wishing you health, fortune, and a year of prosperity as we celebrate the Lunar New Year.
I received that, and I wish you the same.
Thank you.
All right, until the next piece of drama that happens next week.
Yep. See you next.
I'll see you.